Illyra's Sucruth rain fell softly on the metal streets of Turvan City. The sky was dark, covered with clouds, and the wind carried the scent of cold steel and smoke. Deep inside a narrow alley, a young alien girl named Illyra held a small human child close to her chest. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "They must not find you." The child, no older than 6, looked up with wide eyes. "Why are they angry at humans?" Illyra paused, her purple skin glowing faintly under the streetlight. Her eyes, silver like moonlight, held pain. "Because we remind them of what they fear," she said softly. "And what they don't understand." Suddenly, a loud alarm echoed through the city. Red lights flashed across the buildings. The child trembled. "They found us," Illyra said. "Run if I tell you, don't look back." But before either of them could move, metal doors at the alley's end burst open. Soldiers in dark armor stepped in, weapons raised. Their leader pointed at Illyra. "Hands up, you are under arrest for treason." Illyra slowly raised her hands. "He's just a child. He's human," the officer growled. "You helped the enemy." The child tried to hold onto her, but Illyra pushed him behind her gently. "Please," she said. "He was lost. I couldn't leave him." They didn't listen. They threw her to the ground, locked her in chains. One of them grabbed the child, but Illyra shouted, "Don't hurt him. He's done nothing." The officer paused. For a brief second, his eyes showed doubt. But then he looked away. "Take her," he ordered, "and prepare her for judgment." As the guards dragged her away, the child screamed, but no one cared. The people of Turvan had been taught to hate, especially those who helped humans. Illyra sat alone in a cold metal cell. Her wrists were bleeding from the tight cuffs. She stared at the wall, her body still, but her mind racing. "They will use me as a lesson," she thought. "They will show others what happens when you care too much." She closed her eyes, remembering the day she found the boy he had been hiding near the old spaceport, crying, hungry, lost. Her people would have left him to die. But something inside her refused to walk away. "He reminded me of my brother," she whispered to the empty cell. A guard walked in, sneering. "The council has chosen. You will be judged publicly tomorrow. The crowd will enjoy watching a traitor fall." Illyra didn't reply. What could she say? She had made her choice. Now she would pay for it. Outside, news spread fast. "Alien girl saves human child, calls it mercy." Traitor Illyra to be judged at dawn. Crowds gathered near the public square. Some came to curse, hers others to watch. A few came in silence, unsure of what to believe. But among the crowd, one man stood still, tall, wearing a dark coat and a human badge. Captain Rain watched the screen showing Illyra's face. He had heard of her, the alien girl who broke the rules for kindness. He knew what the council would do. He had seen it before. He turned to his assistant. "Get me into that hearing." "They'll never allow it," she replied. "Then break protocol," Rain said. "We owe her that much." Night fell over the city. In her cell, Illyra whispered an old lullaby. Not for herself, but for the child. Wherever he was, she hoped someone kind had found him. Someone unlike her people. She heard footsteps. A figure stopped outside her cell. It was an older alien woman, dressed in official robes. "You shamed your kind," she said coldly. "I followed my heart," Illyra answered. "Then your heart has betrayed you." The woman walked away. Illyra looked up at the ceiling. She didn't cry. She had no tears left. The next morning, drums echoed through the city. Thousands filled the square. Guards led Illyra onto a tall platform. Her hands were tied. A voice announced, "For the crime of aiding a human, the accused shall face public punishment." The crowd roared. Illyra scanned the faces. Many cheered, some threw things. But then, her eyes locked on one man, standing still, arms crossed, face calm. A human. Captain Rain. Illyra gave the faintest smile. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone. The cage and the crowd. The sky was angry. Thick clouds rolled above Turvan City, painting everything in shades of steel and ash. The day had come, the day Illyra would face the world as a traitor. Her cage was not hidden in some dark prison. It was placed in the heart of the city, raised on a tall platform for all to see. The bars were made of glowing energy, humming with a soft, cruel sound. Around her, alien guards stood silent, their faces like stone. Inside the cage, Illyra sat cross-legged, her head low, hair falling across her face. She had not slept, she had not eaten, but she was still awake, still breathing. The crowd below was massive, thousands of aliens, buzzing with hate and curiosity. Some brought children, treating the event like a festival. Others held signs, "Death to traitors. No mercy for human lovers." But not everyone cheered. In the back, hidden in the shadows, stood Captain Rain. His human uniform was covered by a black coat, but his eyes were sharp. He was not here to watch. He was here to act. A loud voice echoed from the square's speaker tower. "Today, we bring justice. Illyra, daughter of Turvan, stands accused of protecting a human, the enemy of our kind." Boos and screams followed. The speaker continued. She will be judged by the council, but let her pain remind us mercy is weakness. And weakness must die. The crowd roared louder. The air was thick with anger. But then something unexpected happened. A power surge flashed across the cage, not from outside, but from within. The glowing bars flickered, then returned. Illyra had lifted her head, her silver eyes, glowing brighter than ever, stared straight at the crowd. For a moment, they went silent. Is this justice? She said softly, but her voice carried far. No. One answered, I saved a child. She continued, he cried, he bled, he called for his mother. I did not see a human, I saw life. A stone flew toward her, hit her shoulder. She flinched, but did not stop. You call me traitor, but what do you call yourselves? The crowd exploded again, louder than before. Some shouted her name in hate. Others looked at her with doubt. In a hidden room above the square, the alien council watched. She's stronger than we expected, one of them said. Break her, replied another. Make her beg before she dies. Rain moved through the alleys behind the square, speaking into a small comm device. Status, he asked. A voice replied, still jammed. They blocked all human transmissions. Rain cursed under his breath. Get me visuals on her cell before the next transfer, sir, the voice replied. If they find you, then let them find me. He cut the call and moved deeper into the shadows. Hours passed. Illyra was removed from the cage and dragged through the city, not to safety, to the Torment House, an underground facility used for punishment. She had heard stories of this place. Now she would live it. Cold halls, silver walls stained with old memories. Guards pushed her into a chair and locked her limbs in place. A tall alien stepped forward. His face was calm. His coat marked him as a mind scanner, one who searched through thoughts with pain. Illyra, he said, you will now give us the truth. Why did you protect the human child? I already told you, she said weakly, because he was alone. The scanner smiled. Then let's see what else you're hiding. He touched a device to her temple. A blinding light filled her vision. Pain followed, sharp and cold, like knives in her brain. She screamed. Images flashed, her memories of the boy, the night she found him. The moment she held his tiny hand and promised to protect him, but deeper inside, the scanner saw something else. A voice, a man, a secret meeting. The scanner pulled back. You've spoken with humans before, he said, eyes wide. This was not your first contact. Illyra's heart dropped. No, who was he? The scanner demanded. She shook her head. I won't tell you. He struck her across the face. You will. Meanwhile, Captain Rain had reached the outer wall of the Torment House. He crouched behind a broken vent, watching the building through thermal vision. His heart pounded. She's in there, he whispered, and they're breaking her. His comm buzzed. You only have one shot, sir. You break in now, you start a war. Rain stood. Then let it begin. He stepped into the shadows and disappeared inside the building. Back in the chamber, Illyra was bleeding. Her skin burned, her voice was almost gone, but her spirit still standing. She looked at the scanner and whispered, you're afraid of me, aren't you? He laughed. Afraid? Of you, not of me, she said. Of the truth, of what people will feel when they see the truth, outside, unknown to the council. Someone had already begun uploading footage of the cage, of the torture of her voice. Millions would see it, and someone would care. Enter the human. Door to the Torment House hissed open. Silent alarms were already ringing inside. Unheard by the guards, their systems were failing. One by one, camera feeds blinked off. Security locks froze. Something was coming. No. Someone. Captain Rain moved like a ghost through the halls. In one hand, he carried a silent pulse gun, in the other, a small sphere blinking with blue light, his personal jammer. Every step he took was calculated. He wasn't here to fight a war, he was here to save one life. And if he had to burn the whole building down to do it, he would. Deep inside, Illyra lay half conscious. Her face was bruised. Her back was bleeding. The scanner had left her alone. For now, but not for long. The room was quiet. Too quiet. Her breathing slowed. The pain had become normal. But then, she heard something strange. Footsteps. Not the heavy stomp of guards, no. This was softer, faster, familiar. A figure stepped into the room, tall, armored, human. Illyra blinked through the blood and light. Rain, he knelt beside her. You're alive, barely, she whispered. Not for long, he replied, slicing her restraints open. You're coming with me. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the hallways. The guards had found the breach. Rain looked at Illyra. Can you walk? She tried, fell. He caught her. Without another word, he lifted her into his arms. We don't have time, he muttered. Hold on. Guards flooded the corridors. Rain moved fast, using cover and shadows. When they spotted him, he didn't shoot to kill, only to stop. Quick bursts, one hit, one fall. But the further he went, the more guards came. Illyra looked up at him through weak eyes. Why are you here? She asked. Rain didn't answer right away. He kicked open a door and rushed down a stairwell because you reminded me of something. He finally said, of someone who, my sister Illyra blinked. What happened to her? Rain paused. People like yours killed her. For being kind, they reached the underground loading bay, an old hangar once used for prisoner transfers. Now it was abandoned, full of broken ships and shadows. Rain placed Illyra down beside a wall and tapped his comm. We're at the drop point, he said. Start the distraction. Above ground, an explosion lit up the sky. The city square shook. People screamed. Fire rose in the distance. Ships flew out in panic. The council panicked too. Their screens filled with alerts. What's happening? One shouted. Terrorist attack. No. This is a rescue. Someone was helping the traitor escape. Back in the hangar, Rain opened a hidden panel. Inside was a sleek hoverpod. Just enough space for two. This'll get us past the city walls, he said. But after that, we're on our own. He turned to help Illyra and a shot rang out. Rain fell to the ground, shoulder smoking. Guards had found them. Illyra screamed, crawling to him. Rain tried to lift his gun, but another shot hit the pod's controls. It sparked. The exit was closing. A tall alien officer stepped out from the shadows, the same scanner who tortured her. You humans always think you can save everyone, he sneered. Rain spat blood. And you aliens always think fear is control. The scanner aimed his weapon at Illyra. This ends here. But before he could fire, a blur of motion struck him. A child, the human boy. He leapt from behind a crate, biting, screaming, leave her alone, he cried. The scanner pushed him back, but the distraction was enough. Rain fired. The scanner fell. Silence. Only the boy's heavy breathing remained. Illyra pulled the child close, holding him with shaking arms. How did you get here? She asked. He looked at her with wide eyes. I followed the human man. I knew you needed help. Rain groaned. Smart kid. They got into the pod. The system sparked, but still worked. As they flew out of the hangar, sirens echoed behind them. The city was alive with fire and chaos, but they were gone, into the night sky, into the unknown. Illyra looked back one last time. She had escaped the cage, but this wasn't over. Not yet. Far across the galaxy, news of the escape spread like wildfire. Alien girl rescued by human soldier, traitor or hero? The child speaks. She saved me. Some called it betrayal, others called it the start of a revolution. Torture without mercy. The desert was endless, beneath the twin moons. The wind screamed through broken canyons, carrying sand and secrets. Far from the city lights, a hidden cave flickered with the glow of a small fire. Inside, Illyra lay wrapped in a thermal blanket. Her body trembled, her wound still fresh. Beside her, the human boy slept, curled like a small animal. Captain Rain stood watch near the cave's entrance, weapon in hand, his eyes scanning the night. How long until they find us? Illyra asked, voice weak. Hours, maybe less, Rain replied. They won't stop, not now. Then why did you risk everything? She whispered. Rain turned to her, his face half lit by the flames. Because mercy is not weakness, he said. It's the one thing that makes us human. And you showed it when no one else did. Illyra looked away, silent. She remembered the screams, the pain, the cage, the shame of being called traitor by her own people. They'll never forgive me, she said. Then forget their forgiveness, Rain said. You don't need it. Meanwhile, back in Tormented City, the council was burning with rage. The scanner had survived. Wounded but alive, he stood before the High Council with bandages across his chest. She escaped with the human, he spat, and worse, the child is with them. The council leader slammed his fist on the table. This makes her a symbol. If the people see her as a victim, not a traitor, we'll lose control, another counselor finished. They ordered a bounty. Not a silent one, a public order. Bring us the alien girl, dead or alive. And for the human? Execution on sight. But not all aliens supported this. In hidden corners of the city, whispers began. What if she was right? What if we are the cruel ones? Small acts of rebellion sparked. Posters of Illyra's face appeared with one word, mercy. The council responded with fear. And fear always demands blood. In the desert cave, Rain received a weak signal on his device. A hidden human channel. A voice crackled through. We've located an old safe house 20 clicks north, but you're not alone out there. Bounty hunters already moving in. Rain nodded. We'll move at dawn. But dawn never came peacefully. Just before sunrise, a sharp sound cut through the cave. A distant echo, then another, blaster fire. Rain jumped to his feet. They've found us. He handed the child a small light stick. Stay hidden, don't move unless you see me or her. He helped Illyra to her feet. She could barely stand, but her eyes burned with new fire. No more cages, she said. Rain smiled. No more. The battle was brutal. Masked hunters, hired by the council, stormed the canyon. They were fast, skilled, and heartless. Rain moved like lightning, shooting and dodging. Using the rocks for cover. A Lyra, weak but determined, tapped into her alien senses. Her people could manipulate sound and energy, and in her pain, her powers awakened stronger than ever when one hunter cornered her. She closed her eyes and released a blast of raw force. It knocked him back into the rocks, unconscious. For the first time, she fought back, but there were too many. Rain was shot in the leg. The child cried out as a blaster struck near him. They were surrounded, and then silence. A voice echoed through the canyon. Drop your weapons. It was the scanner again, alive. Furious, you want mercy, girl, he said, stepping into view. Then show it now. Surrender and maybe the child will live. Lyra stepped forward. Shaking but tall, you tortured me, she said. And I forgave you. That was your mistake, he growled. No, she whispered, it was my strength. Then she raised her hand. The wind rose, sand swirled, her powers exploded like a storm. The scanner screamed, blinded, rain shot his weapon, ending the threat for good. The canyon fell quiet. Hours later, they reached the human safe house. Underground, warm, safe, but not truly safe. A Lyra stared at her reflection in a piece of broken glass. She didn't see a victim anymore. She saw a warrior. They'll keep hunting us, Rain said. Let them. She replied, because now, I'm not running. What are you going to do? He asked. A Lyra looked up, her voice steady. I'm going back. Not to beg, not to hide, but to speak. If they want to silence mercy, then I'll shout it louder. Rain nodded slowly. Then I'm with you. Far across the stars, new voices were rising. Alien civilians, human activists, reporters, people who once hated now began to question. Because one alien girl had shown the galaxy something powerful, compassion under torture, kindness under fire, and that changed everything. The child's voice. Stars blinked above the human safe house, far from Turvin's burning towers. Inside, silence had settled, heavy, tired, and fragile. A Lyra sat at the edge of the room, her face pale in the dim light, wounds healing. But slowly, Captain Rain leaned against the wall, leg wrapped in synth bandage. He hadn't slept in days, neither had she. And in the middle of it all sat the boy. No one knew his name, not even him. He had been found alone, abandoned during a ceasefire between the two races. No family, no documents. Only fear in his eyes, until Lyra had picked him up and shielded him with her own body. Now, his small voice was about to shake a galaxy. He's asking for her, said the medic. Stepping into the room. A Lyra stood, weak but determined. She walked to the boy's bed. He looked up, face lit by the soft blue lights above. Are you okay? She asked. He nodded. But you're still hurt. She smiled faintly, a little, but I'm healing. The boy hesitated, then asked, am I the reason they hurt you? Lyra knelt beside him, heart heavy. No, she said. They hurt me because they're afraid of what you represent. Peace, connection, truth. He blinked. But I'm just a kid. Exactly, she whispered. And they're terrified of a child who was loved by someone they told me to hate, across the galaxy. Chaos had bloomed. News of Lyra's escape had gone viral. Footage leaked, images of her torture, her cage, and her rescue by a human soldier sparked global protests. Alien cities lit up with riots and marches. Some demanded her capture, others cried for her freedom. And among it all, the voice of the child was the one thing no one could ignore. Governments argued, councils panicked. Human media called him the silent witness. Alien leaders called him the forbidden child. But now, he was ready to speak. Inside a small underground recording studio, Rain prepared the feed. This goes directly to both human and alien public channels, he told them. No military filter. No edits, just raw truth. Lyra placed her hand on the boy's shoulder. You don't have to do this, she said. He looked at her and shook his head. Yes, I do. The light turned green. They were live. The boy stared into the camera. At first, nothing. Just silence. But then he spoke. His voice was soft, clear, and painfully honest. My name is not important. I don't remember it. I only remember fear. I remember running, hiding, and people shouting at me just because I was human. His eyes welled with tears. But then someone found me. She wasn't human. She was alien. And I thought she would hurt me, but she gave me food, covered me when I was cold. And when the soldiers came, she didn't run. He looked at Lyra. Beside him, she was the only one who didn't treat me like a weapon or a disease. He turned back to the camera. They called her a traitor. They put her in a cage. They tortured her. And she never screamed for herself, only for me. The room was silent. The feed went quiet. And then it exploded, across thousands of worlds. The child's face filled screens. He spoke. He told the truth. The child they tried to erase has a voice. Alien civilians cried watching it. Some turned their weapons in. Others picked them up, ready to fight the very government that hurt one of their own for saving a human child. Human diplomats finally stepped forward. This was not an act of war, one said. This was an act of mercy, and we must answer. It was the same, but not everyone agreed. In Turvin's capital, the council burned with fear. The child must be silenced, one counselor said. Then we have already lost, another replied. His voice is stronger than our prisons. They declared war that day, not officially, but through action. Assassins were sent. A message was delivered to Rain's camp: surrender the girl and the child, or watch the sky fall. Illyra read the message and stayed quiet for a long time. They won't stop, Rain said. You've embarrassed them, and now they need blood to feel powerful again. Then we give them something they never expected, Illyra said. What? She turned toward the camera. We go back. Rain's eyes widened. You're talking about walking into the fire? No, she replied. I'm talking about lighting it. In the final scene, a transport ship lifts from the dust. Illyra stands in the window. The child beside her, holding her hand. Behind them, Rain checks his weapon. Next stop, he asks. Illyra breathes deeply. Turvan City and the child says with quiet strength, let them hear me again. Rebellion sparks. The sky above Turvan City burned orange as the capital prepared for war. Not against humans. Not against outsiders. But against its own people inside the council tower. Panic had replaced power. The once confident rulers now feared the very name they had tried to bury. Illyra. And beside her, the boy whose voice had cracked their lies open for the world to see. We shouldn't have let her live, one counselor spat. She's just one girl, another shouted. Double quotes. No, the leader said, rising slowly. She's a spark, and sparks start fires. In the distance, just outside city borders, a sleek black ship landed in silence. Dust blew past its hull, no flags, no markings, just a purpose. Illyra stepped out first. No longer weak. No longer hunted. She wore a long black coat over her alien armor. Her silver eyes calm, strong. Behind her walked the boy, holding her hand. Captain Rain followed. His blaster holstered, his jaw set like stone. You sure about this? He asked. Illyra nodded. We're not here to hide anymore. Then we need to move fast, he said. They'll be watching every shadow. She looked at the city skyline. Good. Let them watch. Hours earlier, messages had been sent, secret codes, old rebel frequencies. Buried long ago when the war first ended. Illyra had spoken 3 words, the fire returns. And those 3 words moved hundreds. Shopkeepers closed their doors early. Guards didn't show up for shift. Citizens painted the symbol of unity to circles, human and alien, on walls, on buildings, on themselves. The city was holding its breath. Waiting. Inside the underground tunnels beneath the city, a group of alien workers stood in a dark chamber. They had once worked in waste control, forgotten by the upper world. Now they armed themselves. For her, one whispered. For mercy, said another. They weren't soldiers, they were the beginning. Illyra and Rain moved through the slums with cloaks over their faces. The boys stayed close, alert. They passed broken homes, burned out districts, and watchtowers full of snipers. But something was different. People didn't scream. They bowed. Illyra was no longer a traitor. To the forgotten, to the voiceless, she was hope. In the central tower, the council activated emergency protocols. Drone patrols, riot squads, and energy barricades. Their plan was simple: stop her before she could speak again. But fear makes people sloppy, and truth finds cracks. As night fell, Illyra reached the heart of the city. The grand square where she had once been caged and humiliated, now it was empty. Dead silent. But cameras still worked. And so did the feed. She stepped onto the same stage where she had been judged, her face lit by the same cold lights. The boy followed, nervous but brave, and Rain stood behind them, watching every rooftop. They'll come, Rain said. We want them to, she answered. Illyra activated a small transmitter. Then she spoke. This was the place they called me traitor, she said, her voice echoing across the empty square and across every screen in the city. This was where they tortured me, not because I hurt anyone, not because I broke laws that protected lives, but because I saved one. The boy stood beside her, watching quietly. They told me mercy was weakness, she continued. But mercy is strength. Her voice hardened. If kindness is treason, then I am guilty. If compassion is a crime, then let the chains return. But understand this, you will never silence me again. Just as her final words echoed, power flickered. Across the city, screens were hacked. Walls were lit with her face. Protests erupted. Civilians flooded the square. Rebels in hidden places activated power grids, blew up council signals, and overran checkpoints. A revolution wasn't starting. It had already begun. In the council tower, the scanner who once tortured Illyra stood watching the feed. His hands trembled. How did it come to this? He whispered. Guard ran in. Sir, she's in the square, and there's thousands with her. Then end it, the scanner said. Use the drones, but his command was never given. The guard looked at him, then pulled off his helmet, revealing a painted symbol on his neck. The unity mark, you already lost, he said that back in the square as soldiers began to arrive. Something happened that no one expected. They didn't attack, they lowered their weapons. Some joined the crowd. Others dropped to their knees. A Lyra stood still, wind blowing through her hair. The boy stepped forward. Looked into a camera and said, "Just for words, no more silent voices." That night, the council was overthrown. Without a shot, without an order. Just by truth. One life changed everything. Dawn came slowly over Turvan City for the first time in years. There was no alarm, no sirens, no orders shouting over the public speakers. Just silence. The kind of silence that follows a storm. Buildings still smoked. Riot drones lay scattered in streets. Banners once filled with hate slogans now hung burned, painted over with symbols of unity. And in the center of it all stood the girl who started it. Lyra walked through the council hall, the same place where she was once judged and condemned. Now, it was empty. Walls once lined with power were stripped bare. Counselors had fled or surrendered. The scanner, the man who tortured her, had taken his own life when his guards turned their backs on him. No one celebrated that. Because this victory wasn't about revenge. It was about restoration. And that was harder than any war. Rain stood at her side, his limp more visible now, his eyes more tired. "We've won the city," he said, "but we haven't won peace." Lyra nodded. "Peace was never a line to cross," she said, "it's a path. And we've only taken the first step." Across the galaxy, the footage from the uprising had gone viral. Alien outposts refused to follow the old rules. Human diplomats, once divided on the treaty, now demanded full protection for all refugees, including the boy. And the boy, he had become a symbol. His quiet, simple words, no more silent voices, printed on banners, walls, clothing. But even symbols get tired. He sat alone in the garden outside the broken tower. A quiet place, newly built from the rubble. Birds, imported from a human colony, now chirped among the rebuilt stone. Lyra walked toward him and sat beside him. "You okay?" she asked. The boy looked up at her. "Everyone listens to me now," he said, almost confused. "But I don't know what to say anymore." She placed a hand on his. "You don't have to say anything," she said. "You already said enough to change everything." He looked at her, tears filling his eyes. "Why did you save me?" he asked again and again. She answered like before, "Because you were scared." He nodded. "I was. But I'm not anymore." But not everything was peaceful. Far outside the city, remnants of the old order gathered in secret. Former council agents, warlords, broken loyalists. "She humiliated us," one growled. "She poisoned our people with human words," another said. "She must fall," the leader replied. "Let her think she's won. We'll strike when she speaks." And that day came quickly. An all-species summit, the first since the human-alien war ended, was planned. Location, the rebuilt city square where Lyra had once stood in a cage. This time, she would stand on a stage. Not alone. Beside her, Rain, limping but strong. The boy, standing tall, holding a glowing sphere, the new seal of peace. Crowds filled every rooftop, every path. Millions watched the broadcast live across planets. The future would begin with this moment. Lyra stepped up to the podium, and just as she opened her mouth, a shot rang out. The crowd gasped. But it wasn't her. It was Rain. He collapsed instantly. Lyra caught him, screaming. Guards swarmed the rooftops. Chaos broke. Another shot. Then another. Someone shouted, "Protect the child." Lyra's heart pounded. But Rain, coughing blood, grabbed her hand. "Don't stop," he whispered. "Don't let this stop it." She trembled. "No, you're coming with us." But he smiled. "This was always bigger than me." Then he closed his eyes and didn't open them again. The boy stood in front of the crowd. He raised the glowing peace seal high into the air. And shouted, voice cracking but strong, "We do not go back." People froze. Guns stopped firing. Lyra stood beside the child, tears down her face, holding Rain's body in one arm and the seal in the other. "We do not go back," she repeated. Again. Again. The crowd joined in. "We do not go back." A chant turned into thunder. The remaining snipers were caught. The attackers, outnumbered and exposed, surrendered. And that moment, where death stood beside hope, became the final page of a broken history. One life changed everything. A child no one wanted. An alien girl no one trusted. A human soldier who believed when no one else did. They didn't win with armies. They didn't win with fear. They won with mercy. And mercy, once feared, became the foundation of a new world. 3 years later, children, human and alien, sit in the same garden where the boy once cried. Teachers tell them the story of the girl who stood in chains and chose kindness. The statue in the middle shows 3 figures: Lyra holding the seal of peace, Rain standing tall with a hand on her shoulder, the child, small but central, his hand raised. Below the statue, one line is carved in both languages: compassion is not weakness, it is the strongest weapon of all.